Howdy do, my little buttercups. It is time for another spooky story. I am Autumn in Appalachia. If you have a spooky story of your own that you would like to share, please feel free to send me a DM. Make sure as well to add me on Facebook, same handle, Autumn in Appalachia. Without further ado, this is a story that we're just going to call her Catherine. I'm not sure if she wanted to be tagged. That she and her whole family in the Bennington Triangle of Vermont, more specifically the Glastonbury Mountains. Catherine actually sent me this story in response to a previous story about the Bennington Triangle that I shared for another follower about how she got stuck in a time loop in the Bennington Triangle. And Catherine and her entire family, children, her boyfriend at the time, and a friend all experienced some things that we've never even discussed before on this page, and it really creeped me out when I read it. When Catherine's children were 6 and 7 years old, she, her boyfriend, and a friend, all 5, decide to go on a hike, like a 20-mile hike, through the Glastonbury Mountains in the Bennington Triangle, the dead center of the triangle. And they were not going to make this like a one-day thing. They decided to spread this hike out over 3 days, especially since the kids are so young. About halfway through the hike, the kids need a break, so they decide to set camp up for the night. Around 2 a.m., they are woken up by the sound of knocking. When Catherine first comes to, she kind of was dazed and forgot where she was. When she realized, though, that she is in the middle of the mountains, she realizes that the knocking is coming from something or somebody knocking on trees surrounding their campsite. When she peers around the tent to kind of gather her bearings, she sees that her 7-year-old is sitting up intently staring at nothing on the wall of the tent, and he is like whispering, and she doesn't understand who or what he could be whispering to. She looks at her son and she's like, "Honey, why are you up?" And he said, "Well, the night spirits wanted to play." And it shocked her because that wasn't like her son. And she said, "What did you say?" And he said, "Well, I told them that I'm not allowed to play outside at night." Catherine was like, "Fair enough. How do you feel about them asking you a question like that? Like, are you scared?" She's like trying to gauge, is this something like negative or something not negative? And he said, "Mom, I'm not scared of them. I'm scared of the other thing outside." She asks what the other thing is, and he explains that it had antlers and that its shadow went all the way over the tent. For reference, the tent was 6 foot tall. It was a 12-person tent. Catherine is actually aware of some of the legends and the haunted lore about the Bennington Triangle and the Glastonbury Mountains. She had never experienced anything until this point, but she was honest with her son, and they kind of discuss some of the lore. She comforts him, and then within 15 or 20 minutes, they're successfully able to go back to sleep. Next morning, around 7:30 or 8, they wake up, have breakfast, and then start to disassemble the camp to continue on the hike. They have a family rule when hiking. They leave it as they found it. Catherine said they leave no trash, no fire, no human anything, and they always leave a gift. Much like you would hear in like Fae lore, they decide, she and her children, to leave a single heart-shaped stone in the campsite, and they continue on their hike. They hike until they reach Glastonbury. They exchange pleasantries with a few other hikers they pass along the way, but she said that the last group of people that they encountered were strange. She said they gave off a weird vibe, and they had a creepy, particular kind of interest in the children. She said that they kept trying to offer them food and water, asking if they needed anything, even though they had protein bars and water bottles in hand while doing so. Catherine was trying to divert their focus off of her children by striking up a conversation with them, but they seemed to want nothing to do with having any sort of conversation with the adults. They eventually continue on their way. It makes her very uncomfortable, and they go the opposite way back down the trail, and they continue on to town. As they're getting into the opening where the town begins, these strange people are somehow in front of them again. Catherine does not know how to explain like how they went miles in the opposite direction down the single trail that goes to and from, and somehow ended up in front of them again as they're entering the town. But they again come up to her son and they're complimenting his necklace, asking if he wants to trade necklaces. It again just makes her feel super uncomfortable. They continue on and they get into the town of Glastonbury. Now, if I am not mistaken, this town's abandoned, at least from what I could find online. Catherine didn't clarify, but she said that when they arrived, the first thing that struck her was that it was soundless. There was no buzzing, there was no chirping, there were no birds, there was nothing. It was almost, she said, like being in a vacuum. Unfortunately for the family, though, they have to camp there for the night. She said that all night they heard what sounded like crying and somebody yelling for mom. At first, she contributed it to animal sounds until illuminated in the very dim light on the wall of the tent, they began seeing childlike shadows. And it wasn't just one of them seeing it, it was everybody, all 5 of them looking up and seeing these childlike silhouettes on the outside of their tent. She's trying to comfort her children, saying, like, just ignore it, go back to sleep, it's okay. But her friend just cannot help but comment on how creepy it all was, like something is going on. This is not normal. These are not like people out here. And her ex somehow is able to fall asleep. Eventually, in the middle of the night, they are all jarred awake by this blood-curdling scream. And at this point, they're so scared that they don't sleep for the rest of the night. And the second that it starts becoming dawn, they pack up their stuff and haul ass out of there. Despite their fear, they don't forget the rules. They leave everything as they found it, and they leave a gift behind. Before they can make it back to their car, though, they have to camp one more night in the Bennington Triangle, and that night, she said, was different. As they are laying there in pitch black darkness in the mountains, Catherine heard 3 loud knocks on the trees surrounding their tent and a thud. She waits till morning to check it out, and when she goes outside of the tent, she sees all the gifts that they left over the last 3 days behind at the campsite, plus more. In addition to the gifts that they left behind, laying there were berries, more stones, old coins, and pieces of brown bloody velvet. Catherine said that it absolutely shocked her to her core. So that, guys, is the story. Catherine believes that what they encountered in the triangle was paranormal, and she believes that those people potentially were paranormal too. Whether they are just creepy or supernatural, it's chilling either way. And I do have to say that aspects of that story reminded me quite a bit of some of the research that I've done on like fae lore, or things that live in the woods, like creatures and cryptids that live in the woods that try to lure you or bargain with you, that don't quite necessarily have the best intentions in mind. I'm not sure. Y'all let me know what your theories are in the comments, and stay tuned for some more spooky stories.